Just in case this is the first time you've heard of Operation Mallard, let me give you a super quick recap. In April 2020, a duck chose to nest on my dad's balcony 150 feet above the water below. She hatched 7 ducklings, and my dad lowered them down to the ground in a bucket, or ducket, as it's been affectionately named on Twitter. Then this year it happened again, this time with 11 ducklings that were hatched on Star Wars Day, also known as May the 4th. Dad lowered the ducklings down to the ground in the ducket with the help of his friend Neil, as it was really windy that day. All made it to the ground safe and well. While Mrs Mallard sat on the nest earlier this year, I told Twitter about it and it went viral. My dad was on global news reports. We were both on the radio. It was so strange and lovely and funny. I set up a Ko-fi and through that raised over £370 for the RSPB. It was great. When it was all over, Dad had a well-earned rest and was finally able to use his balcony again. We thought it was all over for the year and hoped to see Mrs Mallard again in 2022. But then less than 3 weeks later, I got this message from my dad. He'd got up that morning, went to make coffee, glanced out of the patio doors and saw a duck on the nest. Again! He'd left the previous nest untouched, as it was full of down and the local birds were taking it for their nests. Nature loves to recycle, after all. He didn't expect it to be used by a duck for another year, though. At the beginning, we were both worried that something had gone horribly wrong and that all 11 ducklings had died. But that was incredibly unlikely, so Dad did some research on how to identify individual ducks, and by looking at several features, for example the colour and shape of their eyeline markings, he suspected that there were 2 different ducks using the balcony to nest. He asked me to get some close-up shots from the footage so we could confirm that theory. Of course, as a science fiction author, I knew exactly how to do this. I poured myself a whiskey in my dark apartment and I got to work. Enhance 224 to 176. Stop. Enhance. Stop. Move in. Stop. Enhance and clean up image. What? That's not right. Just give me a side-by-side comparison of the 2 ducks. God, it's not like it is in the movies, is it? Now, I'm being silly, of course, but suffice it to say that comparing pictures of the ducks in Operation Mallard 1 and 2 led to a startling plot twist.
Good morning, everybody. It's May the 22nd. It's just coming up to 6:30, and I just came through to see if Mrs Mallard, whoever you are, was around. She wasn't, so I made myself a cup of coffee, and just as I looked up, there she was.
The one who nested earlier this year and had the 11 Star Wars ducklings wasn't the same bird who nested in 2020. She was a completely different duck. That morning, the original Mrs Mallard had decided to come back to nest for the first time in 2021, just a bit later than last year. She laid 9 eggs this time and sat on the nest throughout June 2021. Dad, being a bit of an old hand at duck care, had everything ready for the big day and just added some ballast to the bottom of the ducket for stabilisation. Then, on the 21st of June, the ducklings started to hatch.
Got it. As you can see, there's several chicks under there. I've been waiting here for ages now. It's just coming up to midday on Monday the 21st, and I was just waiting to see if we're going to get a chick, and you see one there, which is great. More to come.
The weather forecast was good, everything was in place, but Mrs Mallard just didn't seem to want to leave the nest yet.
As you can see, the chicks are starting to show themselves a little bit more now. I'm not sure if they've all hatched, but there's certainly action there, isn't there? More to come. Just coming up to 5:45, and as you can see, there's a lot of activity on the nest. But again, as I mentioned earlier, she's sitting tight. I think there may be one or two eggs that have not hatched yet. Obviously some of these babies have been around since early this morning, and they're getting pretty twitchy and want to go and explore, as they often do. I'm just hoping that we don't have any sort of fall out of the nest too early. That'll leave her in a bit of a dilemma. But we'll run with it. She's the boss, and we'll act accordingly. But as you can see, it's getting pretty busy on there at the moment.
By the evening, Dad had counted 6 ducklings as the family settled in for the night. We wondered if some of them just hadn't hatched yet. He set his alarm for 4 a.m, assuming she would want to leave at dawn the next day. But she didn't. She stayed put.
Hi everybody, it's Steve again. It's about 7:15 in the morning, 22nd of June 2021. Just waiting for Mrs Mallard to make the decision to leave now. She's become a lot more aware of things. She's sort of looks like she's even standing up in the nest. Don't worry about the egg next to them. It's an empty eggshell, so it's just appeared in the last sort of 15 minutes. But yeah, the ducklings are being more and more active as the morning wears on. Some of those babies are a day old now, and there could be some in there that are only an hour old. So we just have to wait and see. So cute.
While we're watching the cute ducklings, I'm going to tell you what happened just before this footage was filmed, actually. Dad waited. Then, to his horror, a group of workmen arrived right at the base of the building and started up a generator. He knew the ducklings would have to go down to the water soon, so he went to speak to them, only to arrive at the elevators and discover that all 3 were out of service due to maintenance. 9 floors up, he didn't want to go all the way down and back up again by the stairs, as it would leave the nest unattended for too long. So he went back to his flat to phone down to the lobby to ask if they'd warned the workers below about the imminent ducket arrival, and to ask if maybe they could move the generator around the corner so it wasn't so loud. Only to discover that Mrs Mallard was clearly about to leave the nest.
Yeah, here we go. Right, just going to come out a bit. Need to count these babies out. That's better. Okay, she's just looking. She can't see me. She can only see my hand on the camera. Okay, she's coming down. Watching it, looking out for predators. Alright, they all should follow more or less the same route. 1. 2. Begin to hear them now. 3. 3. You can see how she bows her head, encouraging them to jump. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. Right, Operation Mallard goes into action. Okay, 9 babies in the bucket, about to go down there. I can't see Mrs Mallard, she'll be around somewhere.
As Dad was by himself and rather stressed at the time, there's no footage of this bit like there was for Operation Mallard 2. Mrs Mallard came back to circle the bucket mid-air, quacking loudly, as Dad was shouting down to the workmen to try to get some help, but the generator was so loud they couldn't hear him because he was so far up. But thankfully, one of the blokes down there did eventually hear him, and he looked pretty confused for a few moments. Then he realised what was happening, grabbed the bucket when it got to the ground, and followed Dad's mimed instructions to let the ducklings out. Poor Dad was stranded on the balcony, helpless, as Mrs Mallard was unable to use her previous route to the water due to the barriers and workers down there.
Bit of a nightmare this morning, but they're all right. Guy's going to give him a hand, I think. Just show him the right way. Okay, sorry about the poor video, but I've got no control over this at the moment. Whoa! Okay, right, she's got them now. Slightly disorganised. Okay, there's Mrs Mallard. Into the water. All babies, all gone. What a morning that was. There's the family going away. Is it hooked on? Cheers, mate, thanks very much. So the guys for the work that's been carried out down below, they give me a hand. So there they go. Operation Mallard 3. Complete success. Bit of a nightmare up here on the balcony as I nearly lost one of the ducklings. But happy ending. It should all be alright now. And she'll head up to where there's a sheltered area in gentle banks upon the river Irwell. Right, okay. I'll just retrieve my bucket from all the way down there.
It turns out the lifts were only out of service for 15 minutes. They just happened to be the most crucial 15 minutes of the day.
Okay guys, there's Mrs Mallard and the family. They're just making their way down towards the river. The drake went off in that direction earlier. Sorry about the quivering screen, but I'm on almost huge magnification. But that's great. Yeah, very different this time because I stayed up here. The lifts are being maintained and the workmen at the base helped me out at the bottom. Absolute nightmare catching all the babies because they were hiding behind my planters, and yeah, and the last one nearly jumped off the balcony. But all's well that ends well. That's lovely. Right, time for breakfast. Good morning everybody, it's Steve on the Quays. After yesterday's different departure with Mrs Mallard's and the ducklings, I thought I'd come down and see if I can spot them this morning. It's just gone 6 AM, that is. It's a beautiful morning here on the Quays. Just thought I'd show you some of the buildings from at ground level where I look down on from my balcony. There's plenty of wildlife around here this time of day. Gulls, swans. Yeah, the sun's just coming up on this side. So we're going to go and try and hunt Mrs Mallard and her ducklings down. I know a few places where they might be. Just also wanted to show you what Salford and Trafford Council are trying to do here, and have been for many years. Is they've got these aerated points all around the quays on both sides. There's another one just up there, and they're paced down. I can see some over the other side bubbling away, and they're on for 12 hours a day, I suppose, and they help aerate the water. I think I remember saying when I was a child, when I came here, it was very, very polluted, and even the River Irwell was just, I remember as a boy living in Bury, it was a dead river. There's no life in it at all. Now there's all types of fish and wildlife in it. It's great. Anyway, let's go and see if we find the Mallard family.
Before I get to what is my absolute favourite Operation Mallard footage of all time, I want to thank everyone again for sending so many lovely messages and being so much fun on Twitter. I'd also like to thank everyone who has bought me cups of tea and helped the RSPB via Ko-fi. If you've enjoyed these videos and want to buy me a cup of tea and help the RSPB look after birds and wildlife, go to my Ko-fi page as shown below. I'm giving 50% of the donations made with Operation Mallard quoted in the message to the RSPB. So as you can see, it was a beautiful morning on Salford Quays the day after all the drama. And look who Dad found, playing about 10 minutes walk away from where they first entered the water.
So I'm just about to send this one to my daughter, Emma. Emma, here they are, having a ball, 7 o'clock in the morning. Mrs Mallard and the family. The babies keep jumping off the wall at the other end there and swimming around and coming up this ramp. It's like a playground for ducklings. See? Looking very cute. How brilliant is that? I've counted 9, so the odds of another family being on the Quays with 9 is incredibly rare. Found a family of 8 this morning over by the water sports centre. But yeah, here we are. Great closing footage. I didn't like the way we did it differently yesterday, but that was because of workmen and lifts being closed off, and it was just a nightmare. But this is far better, from ducklings living on the balcony to being out here in nature. Absolutely perfect. We'll check the markings on her head when we get back just to confirm it is Mrs Mallard, but I'm pretty sure it is. Oh, they're all starting to get a bit more up yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There they all are. There she goes. That's brilliant. Just going to follow them up a bit.
Isn't that just the best ending we could have hoped for? Thanks, Dad. Here's hoping that we have more ducklings next year. Lots of love to you all.
Typical, she's gone over the side now. But that's okay. Thanks for watching.